Hello again. Today we are going to be graphing more sine and cosine graphs. Today we're going to do a combination of amplitude change and vertical translation. Okay, so we have our amplitude change from our A value and our vertical translation from our D value. So we know the amplitude will be multiplied by a factor of 3. The entire graph will be translated down 2 units. Okay, so let's go ahead and label our y-axis here. And this is one of those things that you'll get better with as time goes on. I'm going to go down to -5. And our entire graph should fit on that. Okay, and the reason is, okay, the amplitude was usually 1, but we multiply it by 3, and then we're going to shift it down 2. So it would be shifted down 2, and then have an amplitude of 3 down. So again, with practice, you'll become very quick at doing that. So just for our graph there will go up to +5. Now, I'm going to put our imaginary axis on here at our D value. So we have the formula y equals -2. We're going to put an imaginary line there again. On yours, you'll want to use a dashed line here. I can use a different color, and I'll put this new imaginary axis right through -2. Okay, so we know that doing cosine, all of our values should be above this line and below this line. Let's work some of those out to get the exact points of where they are. Okay, I'm going to start at 0. Okay, so that's 3. Oh, let me switch my tool here. 3 times the cosine of 0 minus 2. Let me erase this stray mark here, that way it just doesn't confuse you. Okay, so let's work this out. Cosine of 0 is 1, so that's 3 times 1 minus 2. Get 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is 1. So we'll be at the point 0, 1. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plot that as I work them out. There's our first point right there. Next, we're going to do pi over 2. It's 3 cosine of pi over 2 minus 2. Okay, cosine of pi over 2, we all know is 0 minus 2. So that will be 3 times 0 is 0, minus 2 gives us a -2. Moving on to our next coordinate point. Let me plot that first here. So at pi over 2, we're at -2. Oh, right on that imaginary axis. We kind of like that. Okay, next one is pi. 3 times the cosine of pi minus 2. It'll be 3 times the cosine of pi is -1 minus 2. 3 times -1 is -3. -3 minus 2 is -5. Okay, so at pi, we'll be down at our -5. And we can see that our graph on our y-axis has gone down far enough. All right, let's work out a few more points. We're at 3 pi over 2. I'll put it up here so you guys can see it. 3 times the cosine of 3 pi over 2 minus 2. Okay, 3 times cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. Minus 2, that's 0 minus 2, or -2 again. So we're coming back up to that imaginary axis. Hey, we have one more point that we need to work out here, and that's the 2 pi. Let me see if I can't get us a little bit more room here. I'm scrolling down, I'll scroll back up. So it'll be 3 times the cosine of 2 pi minus 2. 3 times cosine of 2 pi is 1. Minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, so we're starting to see our pattern there. Scroll back up here for you, and we'll be at 2 pi 1. Okay, with cosine graph, so we know that this will be curved down like such, and then back up to this point. Okay, let's now work backwards. We can use the pattern now. So if we think about it, this graph needs to come back down. So at -pi over 2, we will be at -2. That works out nice. And then at -pi, we'll be at -5. I'm going to fill the table values in as I go. At -3 pi over 2, we're back up to our imaginary axis there. So -2. and at negative 2 pi we'll be at R1 again. There we go. So we're using the pattern here, so we have to do less calculations. And just fill in your graph like such. And there you have it. That's a combination of an amplitude change and a vertical translation. Again, the vertical translation moved our graph from here down 2. So there's our axis, just moving it down 2. Notice the amplitude is 3. 1, 2, 3, up, and then 1, 2, 3, down. That concludes this video on graphing amplitude and vertical translations together.